So these two rich parents are scrambling to cover up the crime that their entitled son just committed. So, what crime did he commit? Now the son, he calls himself Scarface. Scarface is 19 when this story starts, living in Bournemouth, England, and the dude has really rich parents. So he's this young guy with lots of cash. The thing is, he tries to act all gangster. That's why he nicknamed himself Scarface. He has this whole macho mafia fantasy where he and his friends try to pretend that they're mafia, but they're all really just a bunch of teenagers with rich parents. Like Scarface drives a really nice Mini Cooper, but it's one that his grandma and grandpa bought him. Anyway, one night in 2010, he's out in the bar scene, and through some friends, he meets this woman, Emily. And Emily is only 17, but she's already had some success as a model. In Scarface, he thinks she is fine, and she thinks he is fine, and so they start dating. And this relationship, it's going pretty well. Like, they're very social, they're always going out to bars and clubs and whatnot. But here's the thing about Scarface. Along with being a fake gangster, he's also incredibly jealous and controlling in his relationships. Like, he's the type of boyfriend who doesn't want you speaking with other guys at all. So he's constantly checking up on Emily. He wants to know where she is at all times, who she's with, and who she's talking to. And whenever she dresses nice, he accuses her of dressing up to attract other men. He also often confiscates her phone, and he scrolls through her texts and he checks her emails just to make sure that she isn't talking to any other guys. And if he learns that she was ever hanging out in a group with any other dudes, it turns into an argument. And over time, these arguments get out of control and they become more and more aggressive. Sometimes they even turn physical. In fact, more than once, he gets mad at her and he threatens to kill her. So he's not a good or stable person. But then, one day in 2011, he gets really crazy. Because Emily flies from England all the way to New Zealand to visit her parents, because she used to live there with them. And while she's there, she hangs out with some of her old friends. And they go out to bars and parties and stuff, and they take pictures together, and Emily later posts them on Facebook. And in some of these photos, she's with other guys, because some of her old friends are guys. And of course, Scarface sees them, and he sees Emily surrounded by different dudes, and he gets super pissed off. Like, how dare she hang out with men? So when she returns back to England, he confronts her about it. And the two of them get into a huge fight, and they're screaming at each other, and he starts accusing her of cheating and all kinds of things, even though, surprise, surprise, Scarface is actually the one who cheats on her. But by this point, Emily is done with his fake gangster ass. I mean, his jealousy and his stalking and his death threats, it's just too much. She wants out of this relationship. So that night, she goes out to a club with some of her friends, and afterwards, they end up back at one of the friends' houses with the group. And there, Emily ends up hooking up with another dude. The thing is, that dude happens to be one of Scarface's best friends. And apparently, Scarface doesn't find out about this. I guess no one in the friend group bothers to tell him. Regardless, he isn't about to let her go. This last fight makes him that much more obsessed with her. And somehow he gets access to her Facebook account, and he starts monitoring everything. Who she's been talking to, who she's been messaging, who's commenting on her posts. He's always been looking for proof that she's cheating, but this time he thinks he's found it. Because he comes across some conversations that show that she's been arranging to meet up with another guy. And I'm not sure if the messages between her and this guy were romantic or just friendly, but it doesn't matter. Scarface views them as cheating. And here is where things get really bad. So, because Scarface fancies himself to be a mafia guy, he will sometimes carry a lump hammer with him, like out to a club if he's gonna go confront someone. So, after reading these Facebook messages, he grabs this lump hammer and he gets into his car with some of his friends, and they drive to the local nightclub where he thinks she's gonna be meeting with this other guy. But when he gets there and goes inside, neither Emily nor the guy are there. But see, Scarface, he isn't gonna let this go. A few nights later, they all go out with their group of friends to a local bar. And he's in the group, and she is too. And when they're in the car, Scarface starts berating her for how she's dressed, telling her she's dressed like a whore. And of course, she gets upset. She's just over this guy. So when they get to their destination, she walks away from the group to go to a different bar to be away from him. But he eventually follows her there. And while inside, he confronts her again. Then, boom, she throws a drink in his face. And at one point, he has her pushed up against the wall. Now, eventually, during the night, things calm down. And Scarface convinces some of the group to go back with him to his parents' house. And Emily goes too, because, his parents are going to be there, so it should be safe. And so they get there and they hang out, and eventually the two other friends leave. So it's just Scarface and Emily there, and his parents are asleep in the other room. Now, from here, we only know bits and pieces of what happened. We know that at some point, she's on the bed, and Scarface grabs a pillow, and he smothers her. And he also grabs her neck, and he strangles her. And unfortunately, this kills her. Then he passes out, and he falls asleep. The next morning, he wakes up, and he realizes Emily is dead. And he freaks the fuck out. I mean, he pretends to be a hardcore mob guy, but he's never killed anyone. So he gets a paper and pen and he writes a confession letter. And he starts packing his things. I mean, he wants to run away. And when his mom wakes up, he tells her that he killed Emily. And then Mom calls his dad home from work to come help deal with this, because Dad had already left for work. Now from here, these parents could do the right thing and call the police and explain what happened, but that's not what they do. They don't want their son going to prison. So they decide to try and cover up the murder. And together they come up with a whole cover story of how Emily stayed the night there and she just didn't wake up that morning, and Scarface tried to revive her, but he wasn't able to. Then Scarface's dad takes that confession letter that Scarface wrote and he destroys it. And later, when police get there and they're investigating, Scarface's mom notices his jacket. And she thinks this jacket might be incriminating evidence for some reason. So when police are distracted, she grabs it and she hides it. Anyway, at the end of it all, their plan doesn't work. Police investigate and they interview Scarface and Emily's circle of friends, and they find out that Scarface was actually an abusive asshole. So they secretly bug Scarface's parents' house, and through this, they catch him and his parents confessing to the crime and to the cover-up. And so, bam, they arrest Scarface. Here's his mugshot. Also, bam, they arrest his parents too. Here's a picture of them. And ultimately, Scarface goes to trial, and he's found guilty, and he gets sentenced to life in prison, while his parents are convicted of perverting the course of justice, and they each get 27 months in prison.